Alrighty, here we go. That's better. Alrighty, here we go. My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. It's episode 35. It's Monday at 4 a.m. Yeah, and the wise among you have figured out that it's clearly not 4 a.m. I fucking record this shit when I have time. I just release them always at 4 a.m. on Mondays. I get that question all the time. Like, when I was on the Drew and Mike show, they were talking about that. Like, it's fucking daylight out there. It's not 4 a.m. Yeah, of course it's not. Come on, man. How about a little Hollywood magistry, Hollywood pageantry? How about that? All right, like I said, it's episode 35. I want to talk about accountability, and as a way to demonstrate that, as a way to, role model that, I'm going to tell you this. I was at the gym today, and it occurred to me. And I'm going to give you all of these explanations, but at my old gym, which I had to quit going to when they shut it down due to COVID, and I tried to go back when they reopened, but this had mask Nazis wandering around everywhere. Like, I'm on the treadmill just busting ass. Somebody came up to me and, like, signaled to me to put my fucking mask on. Like, I'm running, like, a 7-minute mile, just trucking. Put your fucking mask up. I'm like, put this up. That's what I'm going to tell you. So that was the last day there. Anyway, I went to this other gym, and since then I haven't weighed in. So it's been over a year, and I know this summer I have not been my usual amount of correct eating. I'm just trying to make excuses. They're not excuses. Bottom line is I went and weighed in today, 228.5, and that's about 10-12 pounds over where I like to be. I'd like to try to stay between 215 and 220, and fuck, man, I don't like how I look. Like, that extra weight, it's not muscle, it's just fucking fat. Like, it goes to my gut and my ass and my fucking cheeks. And so I just, hey, so what? Big deal. Let's make a fix. So I got my whiteboard in my bathroom. I'm setting up some goals for this winter, and I put up there today. Happens to be a Friday morning. That's when I was weighing in, and I wrote in 10/1. That's the date. 228.5. I'm going to weigh in every Friday between now and Thanksgiving, and I'm going to drop that weight, get to my 215, and that's what will happen. It won't be tough. I just, pretty simple. Just don't eat so damn much. Cut out the sugar, and you'll be good. Anyway, yeah, I was off my schedule. These are all my explanations. It is not an excuse. Nothing excuses having your body be out of shape. There's no ability in that. There's no, trade-off. I was making poor decisions and rationalizing them with, well, I'm working, or well, I'm on the road, or well, I'm this. Well, nope. That's bullshit. None of those things are things that. Bottom line is I should have been making better decisions, and I wasn't. So I intend to remedy it, and that's what I'm going to do. Along that line, accountability. I'm reading this book by a guy named Ryan Michler, Michler, and interesting guy. The more I read him, he's basically me. I mean, he's as far as his attitudes and the things that he's trying to do with the world. He's trying to make men better. That's what he's doing, and he does it very much like I do. His philosophies are the same. His ideas are the same. The reason I got interested in him, the last time that I talked to Jack Donovan on the phone, we were talking about this idea of accountability, about how it doesn't really matter what the situations are in your life. They are just excuses for the weak-minded. That's all they are. You can use them as explanations as long as you take responsibility for it, as long as you take accountability for it. No matter what the goods are in your life, the positive things that you have, they're there because you made the decisions that put them there. All the negatives in your life, they're there because you made the decisions that put them there. That's the bottom line. Now, of course I'm talking about adults here, for fuck's sake. I had a conversation with somebody last week, and she was like, well, there's all these environmental factors and all these societal factors and systemic factors. And I'm like, those are fucking excuses. You know what I mean? You can't control them, so you shouldn't even be paying attention to them. The bottom line is, if there's an environmental factor that's in your way, choose a different fucking environment. If there's a societal function thing that's stopping you from getting to where you want to be, choose a different society. You always have that choice, no matter what. I don't give a shit how hard it is for you, how hard it is to find public transportation, how hard it is to find education, how hard it is to find a job. If you wanted it, you do it. That's the bottom line. That's all there is to it. And until you accept that into your life, until you accept that your life is a perfect reflection of your decision making, until you accept that, you don't deserve to have more than you have. That's just the bottom line. And I'm a perfect example of that. You know, I put on 10, 12 pounds over the summer. I made a bunch of bad decisions. That's on me. I don't give a shit that I was traveling and I was working. That doesn't matter. I mean, I should have made better decisions, and I intend to remedy that right now. So I put it on my board. You know, October 1st, I'm 228.5. And yeah, I intend to be down to 215 by Thanksgiving. I'm gonna check in every Friday, and I'll let you know how I'm going on that, how I'm doing on that. So with accountability, Mickler was talking about that. He was talking about the different forms of it. One of the things he talks about, he's a big guy. He's big on higher power, which I'm not really. You guys know that. So is Jordan Peterson. I mean, you know, he's like fundamental to my ideas and my thought processes. 12 Rules for Life is a life changer. If you haven't read that and you're expecting to make improve your life, you haven't done everything you can to get there. So one of the accountability things, when he talks about the higher power thing, you know, as I'm reading, you know, and I think this is I don't think it, I know it. My master's degree is in fucking, you know, I was a reading specialist. One of the best ways to read is you're trying to connect your life to what you're reading. You're trying to relate to it. And if you can do that, you're going to understand it. You're going to have comprehension. So as he's talking about the higher power, I don't have any religion in my life. I never have. So instead of that, what I went to was this. Are there people in your life? Is there a person in your life? Is there a factor, an idea, a thing that is bigger than you and can sometimes be more objective, be more wise, be more calm, be a better idea to bring into your current situation? And I'm like, well, yeah, kind of there have been over the years, you know, various partners that I've had. When I was younger, my parents, sometimes I still call my parents, my friends, you know, I'll call somebody, hey man, here's the situation that I'm in. What do you think I should do? You know what I mean? And in a way, that's like having a higher power. That's going, I'm not sure here. Give me your wisdom. You know what I mean? So in that way, you know, that's admitting I don't know what I'm doing, admitting I'd made some mistakes. And I think that's step one to really take an accountability. You got to admit that you're ignorant. You know, one of the things that Mickler was talking about in the book, he's like, you know, he was talking about how when he first started his business, first couple of years, he was making like 30 grand a year, which that's not very good money. And now that third year, he was ready to throw in the towel. And rather than do that, what he did was swallowed his pride and went and talked to some people in his office who were doing the same job he was doing, who were successful. And he went to lunch with them and did some things, and hey man, how the fuck do I do this right? And got some ideas, and his business started to boom. He started to do well. You know, that's a tough thing, I think, for a guy, because I don't know, as a kid, like, and he talks about this too, as a kid, it's completely okay to fall on your face. People laugh at you, pick you up, brush you off, and you keep moving. It's okay to ask a million questions because you're inquisitive. But at a certain age, all of a sudden, I don't know, you feel like the world expects you to know everything. And to ask for help or to admit you don't know something, it's almost like a fucking shot to your ego. And it sure as hell shouldn't be. Because I think it takes a shit ton of confidence to say, hey man, I don't know how to do this. Can you please help me? It takes a ton of confidence, you know, because you're risking their opinion of you. Well, I happen to be in a position where I kind of don't give a shit what people think most of the time. I mean, I've got my certain circle of friends and people that I love who, their opinions count. I'm not going to make a bunch of decisions that I disagree with in order just to make them happy, of course. But anyway, I don't really have that too much, but I know that it's common. I've been in situations where I felt like that. Matter of fact, I can remember being in a football meeting a year ago, and this guy was up there, really good coach, and he was talking about how he hasn't said much in meetings or at practice because he was afraid he would look like he was stupid. And I remember telling him, like, in the meeting and then afterwards, dude, there's only two things that are going to happen when you admit you don't know something, or to admit that you've failed. Either, especially around a group of people, either you are going to make them better by role modeling, hey, it's okay to fuck up, and cop to it, and then move forward with it, or you're going to get better because they're going to give you ideas about how to get over this mistake you've made. In either case, things are going to go well. Everybody's afraid they're going to get motherfucked for not knowing something. You stupid mother. This doesn't happen. I mean, if you're in an environment that's like that, that's a bad decision on your part. Get the fuck out of there. Go someplace that they don't do that. That's what I would tell you. So yeah, admitting that you have weakness. I think that's a huge piece of accountability. That happens all the time. Like if you've made a mistake. I mean, shit. I mean, look at my life. I've made no secrets about the things that the mistakes that I've made. I mean, I got arrested. I got caught with drugs. I had a bad marriage. I made that podcast that got me fired from the football program. I've made a ton of mistakes. I ate really bad all summer. Well, worse than I should. I mean, I usually eat pretty well, but yeah, I got off my usual wagon, and I admit all of them. I do. I admit all of them. I think, I was dating this girl once, and I thought that, man, she had everything going for her. Like she had no limits. I thought this could be a great situation for me. And for her, I think I would really help her. She even would say that. She would say, I think that your relaxedness, your lack of stress, these things would really help me. She said these things. And I couldn't handle that she didn't text me very often. And she didn't call me very often. Like, it just stressed me the fuck out. I'm like, you're obviously not interested. So I proactively went, you know what? I need more contact from you. This isn't going to work. I'm sorry. And that was that. So I don't know. When you do something like that, was it a mistake? I don't know. I mean, I would know it's a mistake if she called back and was like, you know what? You're right. I wasn't talking to you as much as I should have been. I apologize. I was focused on other things, whatever it was. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if that was a mistake or not. But my point is this. Saying that you fucked something up is just another way that I know that you are a very confident person, that you have your shit together and you know what you want. I don't see that as a weakness, but I know a lot of guys do. And a lot of guys struggle with that. So making mistakes, owning them, it's huge. I mean, if you guys look back at I think it was episode 19. 18 was the Forbidden podcast, the one that got me fired. 19, I just talked about here are the steps of failure. Here are the things what you do once you fuck something up. This is what you do. Why do that? Why admit that you screwed up? Why do all these things? Well, believe it or not, it really has nothing to do with what other people think of you. Now, that's a nice side benefit if that's a thing that you're concerned with. But the real reason that you admit that you fucked something up, or that you can say, I'm not doing this because I don't have time. I'm sorry, you don't say it that way. You say, I'm choosing not to. I'm choosing these other things instead. The real reason that you do that is because you have to be able to forgive yourself for the mistakes that you've made. Because if you don't, there's going to be this tension in you. My dad used to talk about this idea that how you think you should act and how you actually act, if there's any if those aren't the same, essentially, you can't be happy. And honestly, when you make a mistake and you make a bunch of fucking excuses for it and you don't cop to it, you're lying to the world, you're lying to yourself. And we know lying's not good. You get taught that since you're a little kid. There's no level of lies that are good. Remember, I had that episode about lies that you tell yourself and all the problems that come with it. That's just another one. When you fuck something up and you don't admit it to yourself, admit it out loud somehow, you can't really heal from it. You can't fix that up. And then you have a collision between how you know you should act and how you actually are acting. And without that, essentially, how can you ever take credit for anything that you do that's good? Because if all the things that went bad on you were because of these environmental factors and all this crazy bullshit, none of it was on you, then in what fucking magical world can you somehow control the whole world and all these outside factors and do great things in addition to those mistakes that you've made? You know what I mean? It's either one or the other. Either you are making all the decisions in the world, you know what I mean? You're controlling what you can control, making the best decisions you can, and let me tell you, that will always guarantee that your life is going well. You'll certainly at least be happy, happier. Or you can decide that everything's everybody else's fault. It's exactly, remember the locus of control thing? You have an internal locus of control or you have an external locus of control. Either things are in your control or they're not. So that's what the accountability piece is. I'll give you a couple of examples. When I did the show about, actually this should all happen on TikTok now I think about it. I'm putting little clips from the show out there on TikTok. I posted this thing about how, when I'd read The Boy Crisis by Dr. Farrell, and I was like, you know what, if you are a single mom raising your kids, they are not going to come out as well as if they had had a dad in the house, and man, did I get some fucking blowback from single moms. Holy shit, did I get lit up, which I thought was great, because I really do like a good discussion. I like a good debate. I like to go back and forth. To me, that's fun. It's a challenge. I want to see, can I stay calm with a little bit of tension? Can I come up with good research? It's like a debate. To me, that's a good time. Well, essentially, this is what kept happening. Basically, every woman said that their kids' dads, and most of them, they weren't married, were abusive. And I'm like, oh, physically abusive? And none of them said yes. They all know emotionally abusive, mentally abusive. So, and I don't want to dig any deeper than that, and I don't want to put any labels on anybody or anything, but regardless of what's happening there, and I mean, I hear that from every woman who's divorced. He was abusive. There can't be that many abusive men in the world. Really, I think people call abusive anything they don't like. He was mean to me. That's abuse. He didn't take out the garbage on time. That's mental abuse. That's him telling me that what I want isn't important to him. And that's abuse. I mean, I think that brush gets pretty fucking broad sometimes. Regardless of that, let's say he did abuse the shit out of you. You married him. Or, wait a minute, no, you didn't. But you had at least one kid with him. Maybe you had two. Maybe you had three. And that whole time, you're making these decisions to commit your life to this guy. You can be with him until these kids, well, forever, really, because you're always going to share these kids. You're going to be at the kid's wedding. And he's going to be there. You know what I mean? Like, you made those commitments. You decided, this is a guy I want in my life forever. As soon as you have kids with somebody, that's what you're choosing. I want this guy in my life forever. Why'd you decide that? Oh, and then they'll say, oh, but he changed. I'll tell you this. I don't know a lot, but I know this. People don't fucking change. I mean, unless you're exposed to a war, you're actually in physical combat, and then that will change you. When you come back, you'll probably be different. If you are a drug addict and you come away from that, that will change you. You will come out of that and you'll be different. If you are locked up and beaten physically for a period of time and you get out of that, that will change you. Okay? So unless these things were happening to these men that you had children with, that you chose over and over again to be with, you made a million decisions every day. I'm going to be with this guy. I'm going to be with this guy. I'm going to continue to pay this bill. I'm going to continue to help him in this way. I'm going to continue to sleep next to him. I'm going to continue. You're making those decisions. You are choosing to keep him in your life. I never had a single guy come to me and say, well, she was abusive. My ex-wife was abusive. Guys don't say that. Guys say, she's That's right, you guys all said at the same time. She's crazy. That's what guys say. And then they move on. And same thing. I know that there can't be that many crazy women out there. So it's the same thing. My point is this. Take responsibility for the shit you can control. And if the other things you don't like that much, make a different decision. Okay? Own your own decisions. Don't put it on other fucking people. It's the same thing as, you know, when people say, yeah, anyway, you get it. Blaming outside factors. That's just you being a coward. That's you being weak-minded. That makes you mentally weak. That makes you have a fragile ego. All those things just tell me. When somebody starts telling me about, well, I just, you know, I got fired because they were making cutbacks, or I got fired because they don't like dudes over there, or whatever it is, you know. No, man. If bottom line is this: if I'm a business owner, if you're making me money and you're not causing problems, I'm keeping you. That's it. So control what you can control. And if it was a bad situation and it was like that, why were you still there? You know, if you're at a job and you're not moving up because whatever factor, get a different fucking job. That's on you. Okay, it's not on anybody else. And again, you must do that. You have to do it in order to take credit for the positive things in your life. You know? I mean, I look around my life and it's not exactly what I want it to be. But for the situation that I'm in, I'm crushing it. You know what I mean? I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, I'd like to have a family right now. I thought that's where I'd be in my life. But I'm not. And it's because of decisions I made. I wanted that thing too much. And ironically, it caused me to not have it. I spent too much time with the wrong women. And that's on me. Completely my fault. And it's caused me to be where I'm in my life with that. So what I've chosen to do is make the best of what I have in front of me, which is pretty fucking cool. You know, I have a business that makes me pretty good money with complete flexibility. I can travel whenever I want to. I can do whatever I want. There isn't a thing I do that I don't want to do. And that is a positive. And that's as a result of the decisions I've made. I chose to start this business. I chose to work hard at it. I wrote this book. It's allowed me to do this podcast, which is a thing that I take tremendous pride in. I get to do all this cool research and talk to these really smart people who know what they're talking about, and have, you know, one of the other upsides is just starting to happen is outside people are starting to reach out to me. Hey, I watched your show. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I get to have these really cool academic discussions with people about society and about philosophy and about culture. And to me, that's extremely stimulating. And I don't know. People are kind of starting to look at me like I know something, and I don't. I'm just a regular dude sharing shit that I found. But, you know, it's a cool upside. And I take credit for that because I worked hard at it. Just like earlier, I told you I fucking take responsibility for the things that I fucked up. You know? I fuck up shit every day. You know? Like I was working on my truck this morning. The little gas thing. Anyway, when I pulled it all apart, I could see that this one part was rusted, and I'm like, well, I'm going to try to fix it the hillbilly way with a bunch of RTV and a clamp, and we'll see if it stops leaking. You know what I mean? So it's drying in the garage right now, and that shit might leak like crazy. It might be a giant mess next time I fill it up with got, but if it is, hey, that's all right. Fine. I tried. I knew that this could be a possible outcome of it, and I'll deal with it if it happens. It means I got to buy a new gas tank. I got to buy a new gas tank. Whatever. There's worse crimes out there. You know, no big deal. Another little transition here. A thing that Mickler talked about, and I loved this. He said when guys come to him and say, hey, I want to get my life together. I want to do X, Y, and Z. This is where I want to be. I fleshed that out. I fleshed out what my goal is. I know what I want, but I don't know where to start to get there. And for a lot of you, that's almost definitely where you are. If you have fleshed out your goal, knowing where to start, that can be a tough one. You know, that can be tough. Like, I know that shit with this podcast and the book. I know where my weak point is, and that's marketing. I don't know much about that, and I got to ask professionals. And Joel, expect to call Joel, my old buddy from high school. I need some information. I'm at the point where I need more information to go forward. So that's what I intend to do. But anyway, what he suggested was start with your body. Whether your goals are financial, marital, parental, professional. It doesn't matter what they are. Start them all with physical. And his logic, I think, is sound as fuck. It's exactly what I do. Start with your body. That's the thing that you can 100% control. And I talk about this in my book when I talk about working out and eating right. No one else has any input on that. That's just you. You decide what's going to go in here. You decide what you're going to do with this body. You make those choices. That's 100% in your control at all times. And you should wrap your arms around that, if you will. You should be excited that there's always that thing. No matter how all these other things out there feel out of control, you always have your body. So there's that thing. Once you start that, you're going to start seeing results. You're going to start feeling physically better. You're going to start building mental toughness, mental strength. And you're going to start building these habits. And they are habits of getting the fuck up on time in the morning to get to the gym. Finishing those last 2 sets even though you don't feel good. Running a little harder on your cardio, pushing a little bit more. Seeing if you can improve just a little bit each day, incremental. When you take that one thing that you know you can control and you control it and you're a master of it, that creates those mental habits that allow you to take those same attitudes and apply them to your professional, marital, financial goals. Once you have that part down, that's why I start every day with my damn workout. First thing I do every morning, get up and go to the gym. And man, it was awesome. Like as Ryan Mickler's talking, I'm like answering all these questions because I think just like he does. He's like, man, the first few days I'd get up, the alarm would go off, and I didn't want to have to, go put on my gym clothes and pack my work clothes and get my pre-drink and pack my lunch. I just didn't want to do all that shit. And he wasn't even half done saying it. I'm like, so fucking do it the night before. And then he was the next thing out of his mouth. He's like, so I started doing it that night. So all I had to do was get up and roll. And I figured that out, 20 years ago when I was teaching still. And it works. That's the thing. Set it all up so it's easy for you the next day. If you don't want to think when you're all groggy in the first thing in the morning, do it when you're not. The simplest, fixes are generally the most elegant, right? So that's what you do. Start with your body. If you really want to be accountable, if you really want to feel like you're owning your life, you're taking responsibility for the mistakes that you make, you're taking responsibility for the things that are going well, that is the best first step. And I don't care if all it is when you roll out of bed in the morning, you do, you work your way through 40 push-ups. I don't care if it takes you 4 sets or 5 sets to get to 40. Get to 40 push-ups, and then tomorrow try to do 45. Or next week your goal is 45 or 50. And then maybe you start adding in some abs or something. But start with your body because you can control that. Once you have that base, that confidence of, okay, I've got my physical situation where I want it. I'm moving in the right direction. And again, don't get caught in this trap of once I'm in shape, then I will. No. If you are working at it, if you worked at it today, then you did everything you could for today. And you should feel great about that. That's going to help you move on and do everything you can on something else today. And then tomorrow, you'll make that same decision. It isn't about the end result. It's about falling in love with the process. There's a guy that I coached with, young guy, lives in Atlanta now. His name's Dre. He said that. He used to talk about that. Fall in love with the process. Fall in love with the process. Enjoy what it takes to get there. And then the there will just take care of itself. In our case, it was football. And we were talking about wins. And the wins did happen. They piled up because our kids fell in love with the process. You have to fall in love with the process of becoming great. Everything you do, every part of it has to be very satisfying to you. And really, that's what my book is about. It's 12 things that you can do on a daily basis. Help somebody, work out, eat right, call mom and dad, play my guitar. All these things that I put in there that if I did them today, that's the best I could do today to make my life better. And then you just do the same thing tomorrow. Pretty simple. And that's where Mickler comes out. So great book. I recommend it. It's called Sovereignty. Like I said, he talks about, and I'll put the graphic up here again. What he talks about is to be a sovereign man. That's the word that he uses. Like to be a sovereign nation. Like we are not dependent on anyone else. We are not reliant on anyone else, any other countries. we'll trade with you and we'll do whatever we do, but we are our own fucking shit. I mean, and that's what I think the word sovereign is in our Constitution, or at least the Declaration of Independence. We're a sovereign nation. You know, we're no longer attached to you, England, right? And that's what you need to get to. That's the best part of accountability. I am not going to be beholden to the environment that I'm in, the society that I'm in, the people around me. I am going to work on me and make me as well as I can, do me as well as I can. And maybe I'll be a role model to you. But I can't control that. I can't control your happiness. I can only control mine. So that's what I'll do, and I'll do it as well as I can. So accountability, that's it. In order to have it, you got to own your mistakes. But the end result of it is awesome. You get to be this strong island. You get to be this great boat in the sea. Like Peterson talks about, prepare your boat. Because so then even when the flood comes, you're going to be fine. Using the gym as a way to leverage your mental toughness. All this stuff's going to help you. So accountability, it's the best thing in the world. I think I talked about it with the blue collar guys the first time when I talked to Ryan Bills. It's one of the best things in my life is that I'm accountable for it. Everything you see behind me are these degrees over here. Paid for myself, earned them myself. These coaching awards, earned them myself. This podcast, created it myself, wrote this book. Everything I have, I did it. Made a bunch of fucking mistakes along the way that are very transparent. You can see them. But in order to feel good about where you are and really truly accomplish and have a clean mind, you got to be accountable for it. My name's Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I wrote this book called The Jossman Method. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Audible. I would really like it if you would subscribe. I think there's still a blue button right there. If you haven't subscribed yet, once you do subscribe, that button disappears. And then tell your friends, man. Share this shit. Hopefully there's something in here that can help everybody. That's my goal. Also, one last thing. I'm writing a second book. That's going to start here in the fall. I've got it all kind of laid out in my head. It's going to be pretty good. It'll be the next step. This one was getting out of the hole. The next book will be about getting to the top of the mountain. So pretty excited about that. And yeah, I'll keep you updated. All right. I hope that in some way this show today helped you to get your shit together. Have a great week.